All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is November 14th. We got 10 NBA games to jump into in today's video. Like we always do, we're gonna go through each and every one of those games. I'll give you my lean on the spread, give you my lean on the total, but all my final plays, those will end up in the pinned comment. So if you're looking for those plays, go ahead and check out that pinned comment. Always updated throughout the day with plenty of time before game time. Last night, we do have an 0-2 night, but you could probably tell I'm not in the dumps about it. It was a bad beat of a night all around here, because if you watched the video from yesterday, but what else is new, right? My leans were on fire, and then we have two final plays out of what we talked about in yesterday's video. Both don't come through, but we did have the Bulls and the Bucks over 227.5. They finished at 227 on the hook there, so it's not all that terrible. And then we had a 5-leg parlay in that same game here, and we go 4 for 5 in that parlay. Damian Lillard hit his assist line that we needed, but he only scored 12 points. We needed his PRAs. Guys, he was 3 of 17 from the field. Like, that's just you know what I mean? What am I going to do about that? So again, 0-2 night, but it hasn't been like, or that wasn't like some of the bad reads that we've had in the season. I'm not all that concerned with this one. We read the board well yesterday, just didn't really, get over the hump, I guess. But that is like I'm wearing the hat. That is such a guppy thing to think about. It's like, 0-2, that's all that matters. Now, there is something to be said for, being right there, being able to read the games well, because that is the long-term play. Like, we're not going to get beat like this more often than we win those games that are close. So, or at least I hope that's the case. But nonetheless, guys, let's continue on here. We do have the ride of the day to talk about. Khalifa comes in. Scotty Barnes is over in his PRA. He finishes just a couple shy, and he kind of faded off at the end of the game. So it was a good read, good matchup. Scotty couldn't get it done for us. If you guys do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments, just like Mr. Khalifa did here. And I'll be jumping on board with one person's pick in the comments, giving you guys a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Now let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 here, because I do think it's a fairly interesting one. You have the Charlotte Hornets here taking on the Miami Heat. Now, normally you'd be like, why is that interesting? Well, the Heat really have not risen to, I guess, expectations this season, but they are starting to get hot, right? They've won 5 games. The competition, I'm not giving them credit for that one, but I do think that this is another spot for them to continue to win a ball game here. 3.5 points on the road ain't all that much. Yes, they're a better home team this year than they are road team, but Charlotte's just 1-3 at home, so I don't really trust them. In fact, Charlotte's offense isn't as good as it is on the road as it is at home, and then you have a Miami defense that's playing way better on the road than they are at home. So I do like Miami's spot here. In terms of injuries, a couple worth noting here. Tyler Hero obviously has been out for a while. Terry Rozier is out. Brandon Miller probable. Gordon Hayward probable. Okay. So a few guys that obviously get some run there. Richardson's also, I think, questionable in this spot for Miami as well. So keep an eye on the injury report. None of those, I think, will matter for the line or the result, but I did just want to throw that out there. In terms of the total, the one thing that I will say, like I said, Miami's defense is better on the road, but I do think that this is a Charlotte a team overall that's going to be involved in plenty of high-scoring games. Like the Knicks were a very slow team, right? Dropped 129 on Charlotte because that defense isn't good, obviously, but I will still say that this is a team that likes to up the tempo and push the pace. So if Miami can keep up with them, which I do think that they can, I think we still see a decent amount of points in this game. Charlotte right now, 3rd in the league in field goals, or 2nd in the league in field goal attempted per game here. On the road for Miami, they're 16th, so right in the middle of the pack there. So it's not like they're playing super slow, but yeah, give me the over 224 in this spot as well, hoping that Miami can make some buckets and Charlotte's defense continues to be, I guess, worrisome. Next up, we have the Sixers hosting the Pacers here. This is a little bit interesting because we do have some injuries to note. Obviously, Kelly Oubre still out here. Batum is out. And then the main injury on the side of the Sixers would be Joel Embiid. He is questionable with a hip. Now, I'm not sure if it's actually a true hip or the fact that the Celtics come into town and play the Sixers in the next game. So the Sixers could be a look-ahead spot for the Sixers here. And they just played Indiana, right? And Indiana lost by 11 points. But right now, that -5.5 does seem like an awful lot, especially if I'm right here and that the Celtics, coming in could be on the Sixers' mind, and the Sixers are looking forward to that next game, kind of a look-ahead spot. So I'm going to lean towards Indiana plus the 5.5 points here. The total is way up there too. It's now at 241. The graphic says 240. I think I'm still looking at the over just because what we said last time, right? You think of the Sixers, and this is kind of the problem with thinking the Sixers are an under team. You think of them as a slow-paced team, but in reality, they've had more overs than they've had unders. We just saw them have 1,000,000 points against this exact same matchup, right? So I do think that we can consider that over, especially just given to the the idea that this is the Pacers, and I just talked about Charlotte shooting the second most times in the league. Well, Pacers are in first by a mile. Like, this team is scoring more points than damn near anyone, not even damn near, literally everyone out there this season. So there's something to be said that if I think, the Pacers are going to be in this game, keep it to within 5.5 points, that I don't think that I could sensibly lean towards an under here. Give me the over 240, even though that is such a high number. And if you guys watch show every day, you guys know I barely ever want to touch totals that high. It'll probably keep it off of the final ticket, but still, guys, I think it's silly to lean towards the under. Can the under hit? Yes, we're talking sports here. Anything can happen, but doesn't seem like a safe play in my mind. All right, on a very similar note, we have Detroit taking on Atlanta here. Atlanta has, and I don't know if you want to call it a rivalry. I wouldn't put it there yet, but we know that obviously the playoffs a couple years ago sparked some bad blood between Trae Young, the Hawks, and the Knicks, right? And Atlanta has the Knicks tomorrow, so traveling to New York too, so this could be a look-ahead spot for Atlanta, and it makes sense because doesn't that line seem a little bit too low, plus 4.5? Injuries to note here, Trae Young's questionable in this spot, dealing with a personal matter. I don't know if we have any more information on that, but it's not an injury. I think that's worth mentioning. Then Jalen Duren is out tonight as well. But guys, yeah, this could be a look ahead spot for the Hawks here, and I feel like a broken record saying that just after claiming that for the Sixers, but nonetheless, 4.5 points seems like, I would have thought this would be 6.5. So the fact that it's dropped to 4.5, I don't know what that means for necessarily Trae Young, but what I know that it means is that I think Vegas thinks that this is going to be a somewhat close game, and you have the Pistons here at home. They're not playing all that well at home. Like, everything would point to this spread being a lot bigger than it is, yet it's not. So I do think that, the books here are thinking that this could be a look ahead spot, obviously, as well as the Pistons keep this one somewhat close. Now, do they win this game? I wouldn't necessarily jump out there and say that whatsoever, but I do think that this is a closer game than, I guess you could say, 4 points here. In terms of the total, this Pistons defense puzzles me. Like, they've looked good at times, and then, Jalen Duren's out, obviously a big hit to them. They're kind of a middle-of-the-pack defense, and this is a fast Atlanta offense. So if this is going to be an Atlanta-driven game, and I kind of, put it in a vacuum and don't think about what I just said about the Pistons keeping it close, I think this is an over. Which is, again, kind of contradictory to me thinking the Pistons going to be in this, because in my brain, the way that this Pistons team keeps it close is if this game's kind of messy. But again, you have such a fast team in the obviously the Atlanta Hawks here, which, how crazy is this? In the first 3 games of covering today's slate, right? Each game includes one of the top 3 field goal attempt teams out there right now. You have Charlotte at number 2, then game number 2 at Indiana, who's number 1, game number 3, Atlanta at number 3. Just kind of interesting to note that. But yeah, I'll lean towards the over, but I don't know how much that impacts Detroit's chance of keeping this close. Because if it's a runaway, I do think Atlanta runs away with it. But again, Trae Young might not even play. So keep an eye on the pin comment. If Trae Young's ruled out and we can get Detroit plus 4.5, for whatever reason, I'm not thinking that's all that bad of a spot. And again, Detroit's much better against the spread this year than they are straight up as a record. All right, guys, before we continue on with the slate, I do want to talk to you about a tool that has helped me for so long now. We're talking about Outlier. You guys have seen it on the channel before. You can get a 7-day free trial with the link in the pinned comment. After that, it is $19.99 a month. But with what I'm about to show you, you could probably see how you'd be able to profit and make that money back with Outlier. We'll jump into the player prop screen right now, but they have tons of tools, some included in Outlier Pro, which is a premium and a little bit more expensive here. But in terms of props, games and trends, you guys can get access to that. Again, 7 days free and then $19.99 after that. But here we go. We can go through this. You can see the team ranking, the defense ranking, and their last 5, last 10, last 20, head-to-head this year, last year, all that type of thing. So what's a good one to look into? How about we do Brendan Ingram over 6.5 first quarter points? He's hit it in 10 straight games. In every single game this season, you could see how many points Dallas is allowing to the small forward position, right there, middle of the pack. Compare teams' defenses, offenses, everything like that, and look at some supporting stats like his minutes. You can also scroll through and see the best odds, but also all of his lines that are out there now, along with the odds. You can see his lines for three-pointers and that type of thing. Then we'll give you some insights here. He's failed to exceed 1.5 three-pointers in 15 of the last 16 games. So maybe this is something to take and look at the under on, that type of thing, right? They also have a game screen, which is really cool, which helps you see team trends, not necessarily player props. And guys, I use Outlier literally every single day. Like I always tell you, I'm not going to promote anything on this channel that I don't use, and I'm in this tool every single day. It's a really great tool, and it's a tool that also, you know, at the end of the day is a convenience tool as well. You know what I mean? Like there are times where in life where, you know, paying for convenience makes sense. To me, having everything in one place makes a hell of a lot of sense with how busy I am. So guys, go check out Outlier. If you can tell, you know, if you know that green means good and red means bad, I've said it before, you need to check out Outlier because that means you could profit with it. Very, very visual, but go ahead and check it out. Now let's get back to the slate here. All right, OKC taking on the Spurs here. OKC sitting at 9-point favorites, way too high for me. Do I think they win this game? Yes, there's some injuries that San Antonio may be dealing with as well. Johnson, Sochan, and Jones all questionable in this spot. But again, I don't think that this is a spot in which San Antonio just won't stay in this game. But I've kind of doubted the Thunder a couple times this year, not for final plays, but in terms of our leans on the show, and they've bit me in the ass. So I will admit that in their last 10 games here, they're 7-3, or I guess just on the season, right? 7-3 against the spread. They've been favored in plenty of these games, but this is the largest spread they've had to cover to date here. I think it's either the second or third biggest spread that San Antonio has gotten. Most recently, they got 10.5 points against Phoenix, and they won that game outright. So yes, there are some guys that they're dealing with injuries, but 9 points, almost double digits, seems like it's just too much for me to lay. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm all over the San Antonio side. It just means I'm kind of passing up on that OKC side. What I could see being a final play, and I can't believe I'm saying this, guys, but is taking a peek at that over 237. It's tough. Like, I feel like I'm like old school in the sense that I'm like, oh, that's such a high total. Teams are crushing this nowadays, right? And in terms of over-unders here, San Antonio 9-1 to the over through 10 games on the year. Oklahoma City 5-5, but that's because they have such high lines. They're still the 8th highest scoring team in the league. And when they are at home, I think they sit at 7th or 8th, right around the same exact spot, so we can expect that from them. San Antonio on the road actually puts up a decent amount of points, and this isn't a very good Thunder team, right? This is a Thunder team that's probably in the bottom half of the league, going up against a San Antonio now defense that is literally points per game wise, letting up more points than anyone. So all recipes and all signs point towards an over here. I just hate the fact that the total is so high, but it makes a hell of a lot of sense. All right, Brooklyn hosting Orlando in this one. I went back and forth here, so take whatever I say next with a grain of salt. And what I ultimately came down to is I do think that this Brooklyn offense, is missing a huge piece in Thomas here. He's out for a while now. They don't have Lonnie Walker. Lonnie Walker's questionable. Ben Simmons out tonight as well. That being said, there are some injuries. Obviously, Wendell Carter Jr. still out for the Magic. Harris and Fultz out tonight as well. So decent amount of injuries that can shake things up in this spot, but I'm going to trust this Orlando defense here. This is a legit defense. The offense, I don't think is all that tremendous, obviously, but from a defensive perspective here, 6th in points per game, first in rebounding, and I will say that this is just a team that makes things hard for other teams, right? One of the top half teams here when it comes to field goal percentage against a few points below league average. So I do think that this is a spot in which we're riding the defense, but I already told you, I honestly went into researching this game thinking Brooklyn at home might be the play. So shows what I know here, right? This is one where even if I were to make it a final play, it's kind of like chucking the grenade and seeing if it blows up, because I don't necessarily love the spot here. But that said, I will take a peek at the under, even though it's at 218.5. That's a super low number. These are two teams that really don't necessarily, up the tempo or anything like that. In fact, field goal attempts against for Orlando, they're the second best team in the league here. And when it comes to Brooklyn, yes, they attempt a lot of field goals here, but they're only middle of the pack in terms of field goal made and bottom half of the league in field goal percentage. So I don't necessarily trust that they're going to go out there and sink a bunch of buckets. So give me the under 218.5 here. I'm trusting that defense. Hopefully Brooklyn's defense is starting to get better too, getting Claxton back and that type of thing. We saw last game against Washington, which should have been like an over by all means, similar to how you'd think about a lot of games here, but 102-94, that was super low. And then against Milwaukee, Orlando just won 112-97. So both these teams coming off of slower paced games. All right, New Orleans taking on Dallas. We just saw this exact same matchup in New Orleans like it is tonight. Just a couple nights back, we were on the right side of that one, right? We had a great 5-leg parlay that hit in that as well. Dallas won that game 136-124. The thing about this game is Dallas has to play this game, then pack up and go to Washington, D.C. to play the Wizards tomorrow night. And it seems like this spread, after what Dallas did to the Pelicans, winning by 12 last game, the spread's only moved a half of a point, or on some books it hasn't moved at all, which is a little worrisome to me. I'm kind of like, okay, why not, right? We saw how much better Dallas is than the Pelicans and everything like that. So though I don't think that I'm going to be betting Pelicans, I think that information alone, and the fact that obviously it's another home game here for the Pelicans in this mini series, I guess you could call it. I do think that this is yet another spot that we might just stay away to keep it safe per se, because again, like this should be a spread in which I believe Dallas is way heavy favorites in this spot, and it's not. And I know people kind of are involving, well, what's the tournament and all that? What's that involvement? Like, until I see the tournament truly impact against the spread or totals or types of play, I'm not really trusting that this tournament changes things up. I've gotten a lot of DMs about that. Like, what do you think of the tournament? One, I don't fully understand like why. I mean, it's a money grab, I guess that's why, but like, what's the need for it? And then two, I really do want to wait out and see, do players care that much? Like, are guys making sure that they get their wins and blah, blah, blah? I'm not necessarily sure, right? So anyways, I do think that this is a spot in which the Dallas Mavericks are the way better team. I lean them, but I'm telling you right here, right now, would it surprise me if the Pelicans maybe even win this one outright at plus 150 underdogs? Not at all. That line has not moved for a reason. The total sitting at 239 right now. It's dropped a half of a point since we've seen that, and that's something that I can get behind. I think that you're looking at a Dallas team that, win or loss, they're probably going to put up a decent amount of points, right? So I'll lean towards the over here. This is a team in which their offense is scoring a boatload of points, and when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, they're not really stopping opponents from scoring either, right? So the Pelicans, not the best offense, especially without CJ McCollum, but we did see them put up 124 against this Dallas team just a couple nights back, so we know it is sure as hell possible. All right, Utah taking on Portland here. I do think I'm going to trust Utah. I just don't love the number, but this Portland team obviously would be a tough team to just trust in general. They're 3-6 in the year. Utah's also 3 wins, 7 losses, but I think I like some of their pieces. A little bit more of I guess, veteran status over there on that team, but you could probably tell by how I'm talking. It's not like I'm all over this team. You do have, I think, John Collins is a potential game time decision here, and Scoot Henderson still out, Brogdon out, Simon's out for Portland. It's just a good spot for Utah to be able to clean this one up. But that total, 229, seems a little bit too high for me. I'm thinking this one sticks in the early 220s, so I'm going to lean towards the under in this spot as well. I just don't necessarily see like who's going to put up all of those points, and by all of, it's not the highest total we see on the board, obviously, right? It's like the second lowest that we've third lowest that we've gone through today. But you've seen Portland, their last few outings here, they scored 100 or 110, 118, 115, which sure, that's good enough, but this is a Utah defense that crazily enough, when they are playing at home, this is a pretty, I feel weird saying because they're not a good defense, but they're allowing not all that many points when at home, but when it comes to field goal percentage too, they're in top 10 team defensively, which is kind of mind-blowing because this isn't a good defense. But if you can just make the Portland Trailblazers uncomfortable here, I don't think a lot of points get scored here, and I think the Jazz can win this game by at least 7 points. All right, if you guys find yourself watching every day and you have not picked up some awesome Fade Me merch yet, make sure to consider to do that today, guys. You can use code FADE10, get 10% off your order. We got a ton of new stuff out there right now. Tomorrow we have the tie-dye collection, which I'm wearing the tie-dye crew neck right now, launching. That'll be launching at midnight. So just in a, I guess you'd say, what would that be? 18 hours or so at the time of recording this. I probably am wrong with my math there, but tons of new stuff and tons of stuff coming as well, like our holiday collection, which I'm really loving, the holiday collection with the Grinch and the Santa tee, guys. If you guys do want to support what we're doing here and get some great merch at the same time, consider picking up some Fade Me merch. I'll link it in the pinned comment, but it's fademe.store, a very easy URL. We got the Guppy collection over there as well. Go check it out, guys. Fademe.store. I love the brand that we're building here. And it's tough to, rep a shirt and do a gambling show on a shirt that says Fade Me, right? But it's kind of all about the one, enjoyment of betting. Two, yes, sometimes you can admit that you were wrong, you could fade yourself. And then three, if your friends and buddies continue to fade you, but you keep winning, you could show up to the game day next time going, hey, you chose to fade me, and you can remind them as kind of a tongue-in-cheek type of thing. But go check out fademe.store, guys. Would greatly appreciate that. Denver here at home taking on the Clippers. Denver coming off of that loss to Houston a couple nights back. They lose 107 to 104. And the Clippers coming off of, 4 straight losses? Maybe 5 straight losses, if my memory serves me correct, which is interesting. But, shocker there. You get a bunch of superstars on the team. Everyone thinks they're going to be phenomenal. And then maybe it's like, oh, well, we got to figure out how this works. Only one ball. But nonetheless, guys, right now, Denver sitting at 5.5-point favorites. I like this spot for them. My only concern would be, why is it only 5.5? Like, they've shown that they're one of, if not the best team in the league, right? Obviously winning the championship last year, but I mean, this year alone, playing the Clippers, who are 3 games below 500. They're 3-6 on the season. Like, I don't necessarily see why this is, I guess you could say why this is a spot in which Denver is only favored by 5.5. So maybe there's a little bit of a trap type of a spot here, but give me Denver minus the 5.5 points. In terms of the total, I think Denver puts up, I'm going to be honest, I think Denver might put up like 120 tonight, because this is a Clippers defense that, yes, they start games well, second in points per game against in the first quarter, but they end games really, really poorly, allowing the 5th most points in the 4th quarter. And that is where Denver, can succeed in terms of getting them as well and closing this one out. So I'm going to go ahead and lean towards Denver as well as the over here, even though I know Denver can play slow and they've hit more unders than they have overs by far this year. I don't trust this Clippers defense, especially not late in the games. So yeah, 223.5 ain't all that much to ask for either. This could be a same game parlay spot for us as well, if we can get Denver's line down, the total down, maybe throwing a couple player props for some nice money there. So keep an eye on the pinned comment for that. All right, next up, looks like we're going to have to wait out some injury news. Steph Curry is listed as questionable. This line opened up at, I believe, 4.5. He gets ruled questionable, and it drops down to 1.5. So Vegas is really trying to protect themselves from him not playing tonight for sure. They do have, I think, they have a couple days off before their next game anyway, so it's not like they're saving him for a back-to-back or anything like that. Speaking of back-to-backs, Minnesota is going to Phoenix right after this game too. Obviously not the longest of drives, but worth noting they have a back-to-back coming up here. And we just saw this matchup, right? And Minnesota won 116 to 110. So this is really going to come down to Curry for me. If Steph plays, I think I'm looking at Golden State here -2. I've seen -1.5 on some sportsbooks at home. I don't mind this spot. I think that this makes sense that they play 2 games in Golden State and they split them. I told you guys last time, I said that this Minnesota defense is absolutely legit. They are. Like, I think I'm ready to say that. It's funny how, even Karl-Anthony Towns isn't really the most valuable guy to some degree either. I saw a tweet the other day being like, NBA Insider was saying, could they even get like a 1st-round pick for him right now? I'm not necessarily sure, but overall, the team's playing well. They're driving. They're 7-2 on the season, 6-3 against the spread. But the thing is, they're only 2-2 at home. They're 2-2 on the road. They're 5-0 at home, but they're playing on the road today. So I do think Golden State can get them if Steph plays. If Steph doesn't play, I actually switch right over to the Minnesota side of things. I just don't know if that line right now is taking into account Steph. I believe it is because, again, it dropped a couple points once he went questionable. I'm not necessarily sure where that is, but I would like to see, potentially what Steph's ruling is before jumping on this one. The total sitting at 221.5 right now, and I got to look towards the over ever so slightly. I just hollered about the defense, right? And I get it. But even last game, in a good defensive game from Minnesota, the final score came to 226, and I still think that there's enough offensive firepower on both sides here to get over that mark. If Steph's not in, this is another one where we're probably just kind of fading it away and not really paying attention to it. But as of right now, I do think that, I like that Golden State spot, and that's kind of assuming Steph's playing. I like Golden State as well as the over. All right, it wouldn't be a video without a psycho alert alarm going off. Memphis taking on the Lakers here. Lakers at home, 5-point favorites on some books, 5.5, like FanDuel right now. And I sound the psycho alert alarm because I like Memphis, and I almost like Memphis to win this game outright, which is kind of crazy. They have some injuries they're dealing with, but LeBron's questionable himself. Anthony Davis is on the injury report here, listed as probable though. And I just think this is a good spot for Memphis, who only has 2 wins on the season, to kind of get another one. We just saw them win against the Clippers, right? And now they're in LA yet again, and I think that they might take this one outright. 5.5 points for sure seems like it's too much in my brain for the Lakers to be laying. This is a 3-7 team against the spread, right? And when it comes to offense and defense, I think these teams are awfully similar, which is kind of crazy. So I'll take those points. But again, I think Memphis has a chance to win this game. I'm not risking it like that because they are still the Memphis Grizzlies, right? Like, I don't want to get caught up in the sort of, oh my God, the Grizzlies are great. No. I'm saying that the Lakers are not 5.5 points better than the Grizzlies, and they might not even be better than the Grizzlies, especially if LeBron's hobbled, Anthony Davis is on the injury report, So give me Memphis in this one. I also like the under. In terms of what we've seen out of Memphis as of late, they're scoring low-scoring games, except for that game against Utah. But other than that, they've been absolutely cashing unders. Both teams have 6 unders through 10 games, excuse me. So 6 and 4 to the under for both teams. I just don't see a lot of points being scored in this one here, especially if the Memphis Grizzlies are going to win this one or keep it a close game. I don't think the Lakers sort of run away with it. And guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you liked what you saw here and you are new, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. 26 minutes in, no one's watching, right? No chance anyone's watching. Comment 26 in the comments and who you think is going to score the most points on the slate tonight out of all players, guys. But yeah, let me know that you're still watching at this time. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Again, I know the reason I'm okay with getting up and talking about bad nights, like an 0-2 night, that's not going to kill us, but an 0-2 night, for example, right, is that if you go through and look at the value or the leans that we had in the games, like there's legit value there. I know basketball. I like talking basketball. Because I go 0-2 doesn't mean that I was full of shit last night. You know what I mean? Like, don't be a guppy. Understand that we're all giving our opinions here, and everything that I'm spouting out with stats and whatnot, I'm not making up, right? I'm not pulling out of here being like, oh, that smells pretty bad. Here you go. No, it's all legitimate stuff. So hopefully the true OGs and supporters understand the value in that, because I do want to provide value. I don't want to just come on here and BS you guys. No, this is legitimate stuff that I'm talking about. So yeah, before we get on a little rant about the guppies and supporters here, I'll sign off for the day. See you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.